Hi guys, this is Aztec Soccer College Style. As you know, the show that brings you all the latest in football related news, whether it's local, international, or in the Premier League. This morning we're quickly going to discuss the Arsenal versus Villarreal preview for the Europa League games and the player ratings for Arsenal versus Newcastle. And then that quickly just popped up this morning. We need to discuss this game of PSG versus Man City. Today I have two very special guests with me. First of all, it's Mr. GunnerSince 96. As we know, he's been on the show a couple of times. He's one of my great friends and Arsenal supporters. One of the youngest ones that I know actually. But yeah, I really love this guy. I really love his opinions on the game. And then we also have Mr. James B with us. This is Mr. GunnerSince 96's trusted analyst and also regional professional and football specialist, Mr. James B. So, guys, can I please ask you to introduce yourself to the show and also to the viewers who's watching or gonna watch the
Yeah.
stream afterwards?
Do you want to go first, Farhan?
Yeah, sure, man. First of all, thanks for having me on, Derek. So it's a real pleasure to be here, and it's always great to chat with you. Regardless of how far we are away from each other, it's always a blessing to to share the same space and talk about the club that we love. So yeah, for those of you that are new, my name is Farhan, also known as Ghana since '96. I produce a lot of Arsenal content on YouTube. I'm a massive fan. And I've also got a podcast show with my friend James here as well, who's a part of it. And we analyze every Arsenal game, talk about the football in the 90 minutes, and just generally just Arsenal related stuff as well.
And I'm James Payne, obviously. Um, I'm quite new to all this, social media. Obviously, I've been on Twitter for a while, and these last few months have been kind of a whirlwind in terms of doing things like live and being in this kind of circle. Obviously, I got asked and approached by Farhan to become co-host of his podcast, and it's just all snowballed into one massive, whirlwind of a few months. So I'm excited to get going, and thank you for having me on the show.
Listen, guys, it's a pleasure having you all the way from London with us today. As you know, there's no distance in sport, and we all love this club. That is our communion goal, that we all love this club and we want to see this club go back to former glories. Just before we continue with the show, I just would like to ask you guys, how do you feel about the Daniel Ek and Thierry Henry and those guys bid on the Arsenal team? Do you think it's the right way to go? Do you think the Kroenkes will give in?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Um, Look, as far as Daniel Ek and a takeover, the news regarding a possible takeover goes, personally, I think any ownership right now is better than the Cronkies. I don't think it can get any worse than what it is right now. Thierry Henry made a um, very important statement on Monday Night Football. I'm not sure whether you guys are able to watch it over where you are, but on Sky Sports, he made some really important comments and something that should resonate with all of us, and it's about how the identity of the club and the heritage and the culture and what makes Arsenal Football Club, what makes it so special is disappearing because of this current ownership. If there's one
Yeah,
thing that Arsenal could hold value to, could hold dear to them, was the identity, was how we were viewed in the footballing community. That's now being tarnished because of this whole Super League discussion, and it really is tarnishing our name in the game. So that's why I think now more than ever it's really important that we get in a footballing guy, number one, and if we can, then an Arsenal fan. And who better than Daniel Ek? Right now he has all the hallmarks and characteristics to make the perfect owner. Well, this is obviously all ideal to have someone like that, but until you get that person in and see what they're like and how they perform at their as a role, as an owner, sorry, then only then can you make a real judgment. But as far as we've seen, as far as what he's said, the way that he has responded to questions and the way that he's interacted with the media, it seems as if he's the perfect fit. And if people like Thierry Henry, Vieira, and I think it's Bergkamp, as long as these guys are endorsing someone like Ek, then it shows me that this is someone who wants to bring back the side of Arsenal that should never disappear. I mean, Henri made the point that regardless of whether we win trophies or not, what Daniel wants to bring back to the club is Arsenal Football Club, is the heart and soul, is getting the fans interacted again, is making sure that the club is being run by people who want to do good by it and not people that just want to profit off it. So yeah, I think my overall thoughts on it are this is great. It's great to start this discussion, and this discussion started from a protest which the fans organized. So if we can only continue doing that, then we'll get more discussions, and there might be someone else who wants to put their hat in the ring to buy Arsenal, and then we've really got a discussion to have about ownerships and the potential of the Cronkies selling the clubs. I think if we continue the pressure on, the Cronkies will have to have a discussion at least. Whether they're willing to sell it or not is something else we're yet to obviously see. Josh Kroenke said it early on that he's not willing to sell the club and he's willing to make it work. But I think if we put enough pressure on, they're going to have to consider it. And then, if the right offer comes in, then inevitably they'll sell.
Yeah, I echo what
James,
Farhan.
what to add?
Yeah, I echo what Farhan just said. It seems very, very. I don't want to use the words positive, but there are positive things coming out from Daniel Ek and the consortium of Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira, and Thierry Henry. And I think when you get those legends, as they're known, around Arsenal Football Club, you only have to look outside. They nearly all of them have statues outside the club. I think actually all of them do, don't they?
I don't think Vieira does. I think everyone other than Vieira.
I think
Andre has one. Andre has one, and also Bergkamp has one.
Yeah. I think Bergkamp and Henry have one, but I don't think Patrick Vieira has one yet. And he should have one. That's another day. But I think when you include them, and when you, as Thierry put it, he wants to put Arsenal DNA in the club. They are the right people to approach. And I don't know. We're just gonna have to see where it goes and how it develops. Maybe in the summer. I think an official bid is being made this week, around £1.8 billion. So that when that happens, I think then we can start. Then we can start really, really thinking, oh, maybe this will happen. But there is always the in the back of your mind that it will get rejected first time, which I think it will do. I don't think it's going to be accepted first time, because you rarely ever accept something the first time, because there's always a possibility that you can get a higher offer. So hopefully something does happen, because we do need these owners out, and I think Daniel Ek and the consortium are the right people to lead us forward if that were to happen.
Yeah, definitely. The conversation has started. That is at least a positive. Whether they're going to budge is a different thing. Just to add on, Farhan, yes, we do have Sky Sports, and we do watch Monday Night Football or at the side, because we do have a broadcaster. So I also heard the interview Henry spoke about, and he spoke about the golden seat, which is the seat that belongs to the members of Arsenal team, the supporters' trust. I think that's an integral part. I think that's what Robbie and DT and the people are always talking about. We want our club back. Whether it's going to be the 50-51 partnership that's going on in Germany, I don't think so. But I do think that the Arsenal supporters' trust and the Arsenal fan base is going to have their club back and have their say back when Daniel takes over, because I've also been following the story quite a while. What's interesting for me, what is really interesting for me is, what do you think Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, and Bergkamp's roles are going to be should they take over? Do you think they're going to be in the coaching? Do you think one of them is going to be manager, one of them is going to take over in those facets, or do you think they're only going to sit in the background with the suits on? Farhan, I'll start with you.
I think it will be very much. I do get the impression that it will be a more of a boardroom level. I think if Eck is getting these people involved in discussions related to taking over the club, then it certainly seems that they will have to be involved with restructuring and trying to sort of almost mold that Arsenal DNA back into the club. And obviously, there's no one better than those legends to do that because they were at almost the cool stage of Arsenal's peak. So it makes sense to have these guys maybe not directly involved in the club, but certainly at the beginning stages of restructuring it to have the right people in the right places, because as we've got 4 board members, no supporters trust implemented in anything that goes on at the club. 4 guys who make the decisions and who pass the buck down to your Edus, your Vinays, and your Artetas. And I don't know if that's the best way to run a football club. I mean, if you've got a billionaire like Sheikh Mansour at City who delegates to people who he trusts and knows can do a good job, then fair enough. But I don't think the Cronkies quite know, and I don't know whether they care whether Vinay, Edu, and Arteta can do a good enough job. There's a substandard job. There's a substandard, attempt of doing a job, and then there is doing a very good job or a good job. And I don't think these guys are maximizing their potential. When I look at someone like Arteta, I think it's difficult for him to do a job now where he hasn't been given a proper summer transfer window. He hasn't been given a proper full season to implement his influence. But more so, I worry about his communication and his relationship. He's always banging on about how good his relationship is with the Cronkies. If it is so good, then why was he not made aware of the Super League happening? And why was he not made aware of the aftermath of what was going to happen, whether we were going to pull out or not? It seemed that he was very irritated because in the press conference, he was the first person to face the music. So, many question marks about roles and responsibilities and who's going to do what. But what I will say is that all 3 men do have the potential to make this club into what it was and to do right by it because they love the club. And I can't say the same for someone like Vinay or someone like Edu, even to some extent. I have to be honest, because this is someone who sees the opportunity. He was the managing the technical director in Brazil for Brazilian club, and then he got the opportunity to come to Arsenal. He came to Arsenal. He's doing his job. He's learning on the job. But you need initiative. I always go on about this, but you need people to take it by the scruff of the neck, to really push themselves out of the boat. And I don't think someone like Edu does that enough. He doesn't put his neck on the line enough. He sometimes plays it a bit too safe. Like I said, whatever role that these lot play, it will make a change. It will make a difference.
James B, any thoughts?
Yeah, I again I agree with Farhan. I think any owner that is not the Cronkies could possibly do a better job, and any owner that is an Arsenal fan could probably do any job. Because let's not forget that the Cronkies have multiple franchises. They own a franchise in the hockey, in the American football, in the basketball. They're not Arsenal fans. They're not. They haven't. They haven't lived and breathed Arsenal for the X amount of years that we have. They don't come to games. They don't interact with the fans. They don't. So I think getting again the Arsenal legends and the Arsenal DNA back in some capacity. Obviously, I don't know what they're going to do. I imagine it's going to be just boardroom level. But if there was scope for because 2 of them, Thierry Henry and Patrick Vieira, have managerial careers. So if there was ever like a conversation about that, I'm not too sure. But it remains to be seen. But any owner that is going to come in has a massive job to do to try and get the fans back on side, because there is a kind of a divide at the minute. between the fan base, because people are Arteta in, they're Arteta out, so there needs to be an idea of coming together, which I think the new owners will eventually bring.
Just to add on to that, guys, I don't want to dwell too much on the takeover, but I do have a little hunch that in the back of their minds, I think Thierry Henry or Patrick Vieira is actually going to take over the club as a coach or a manager, because I think they are not very much Arteta fans, to tell you the truth. For what I can hear from his conversations, Thierry Henry, when he's speaking on his punditry, he doesn't like the way that Arteta sets up his team. He doesn't like the chop and changing, and he doesn't like the team selections of Arteta. Just to come to that part, we're gonna head into that part. At this point, Farhan, are you still Arteta or Arteta out?
I don't know. I don't really like having these discussions about Arteta in, out, shake it all about. I'm more of a do right by Arsenal man. And if you're asking me, do I think Arteta is a good coach? Yeah, we can have a discussion. I think Arteta has the potential to be a very good coach. We all knew what we were getting with this guy, right? So to have these debates about we Arteta in or out is to really not be true to ourselves at the beginning of the season when we were all outraged at the fact that we were getting a rookie manager. I appreciate that, I appreciate we want what's best for our club, but the reality is this was never going to be a one season job. It was never going to be a case that Arteta was going to come in and change the face of the club overnight. We knew that this was somebody who was here for his first gig and who was who had good qualities as a coach, because plenty of people have said it. Plenty of his ex-colleagues, ex-players that he coached backed him and said that he was a person who helped them with their development. But when I look at a coach, I ask myself two questions. Do I see this guy as someone who has good coaching ability, number one, and number two, good tactical awareness? Is he someone who is improving the way that we're playing? And compared to last season, compared to where we've come from, compared to what happened after Unai Emery left, or even during Unai Emery's time, do I see an improvement? I see a very slight improvement, not a drastic improvement, but I see little things here and there that indicate to me that Arteta can make an influential benefit at Arsenal in terms of his coaching ability and his tactical ability. Now, there are many things wrong with him that aren't perfected. There are many things that will frustrate fans, like his in-game management. And guess what, guys? There are going to be moments where he's going to get it absolutely wrong. And you're just going to have to accept that. It's just unfortunate that he got it absolutely wrong at the most pivotal stage in the first leg against Villarreal. If it was against someone like Fulham or Sheffield United, fine, we can brush that aside, we can look past that. But because it was at such a crucial game, it seems as if that is unforgivable. But luckily, I have a somewhat of a level head, and I understand that he's going to make mistakes on his way. But equally, he has got the best out of Bukayo Saka, got the best out of Emile Smith-Rowe. He's getting the best out of Nicola Pepe, it seems, finally playing him in the right position. And I don't really know what more to add to that other than, regardless of what me and you think, he's going to be given until at least midway next season to see what he can do. He needs to be given a summer transfer window. If he brings in the right reinforcements, I do see this Arsenal side improving significantly next season. Whether it's going to be enough to get top four, we're yet to see. But more importantly than anything else, he's going to take so much experience and he's going to learn so much from this season that it will make him twice the coach going into next season.
So, heading into that straight, James Payne, and I would like to ask you this question. Farhan mentioned that Arteta got it wrong on the first leg versus Villarreal. We're heading into that point now. I saw that he started Pepe up front with 5 guys behind him. What do you make of that tactical change? And when you first saw it, what was on your mind?
Well, what did I make of the tactical? I didn't get it. I didn't get the tactical change first and foremost, because to go from how we set up against previously. I think we against Slavia Prague in the Europa League. We kind of went with our normal system, and to change it so quickly and to experiment with a new system, it kind of threw me a little bit because obviously it's not what we used to, and it really didn't turn out the way Arteta and we envisaged, because I think it was Pep Guardiola, incidentally, that did the exact same thing and played with the false nine in the Champions League the night before. And we know that Arteta is very, very close to Pep and what he does in terms of managing a football club, and he takes his tactics from Pep as well. You have to admit some of them. Maybe he thought the Arsenal players could take on the style of Pep Guardiola for a game, but we just don't have that we just don't have those type of players to be able to do that. So I think that's the main reason why that tactic didn't work, and hopefully he realizes that, because he's going to make mistakes, as Farhan said. He's a new manager and he's learning on the job, but we can't do anything but give him a chance, which is what we're doing right now, and hopefully he gets it right on Thursday and moving forward.
Yeah, definitely, man. Pepe up front. Pepe is just not that player that you want as a centre forward. He doesn't have the capabilities to hold up a ball in that type of play. Pepe is the one that wants to get in behind defenses. He's the one to exploit defenses on the wide hand side, cut in and score a goal. If you put him centrally, you are throwing him out of it. We had Martin Odegaard, we had him Smith Rowe. Listen, man, Farhan, to be honest with you, and I don't know what your opinion is on this. I don't think Emile Smith Rowe and Martin Odegaard do that well when they play together. Just want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in that. There was once a time where I was quite excited to see Odegaard and Smith Rowe play together, but it seems as if you're always sacrificing one over the other. Now, me personally, I prefer to see Odegaard play in the number 10. Emile Smith Rowe play in the number 10 role, because I think he offers something more that Odegaard doesn't. But I still think that they both. It could potentially work if they're played in different types of positions, because I think we've only seen one. The word that I'm looking for is we've only seen one style of formation when you're playing both of them. It's usually Odegaard as a number 10, and then Emile Smith Rowe moved onto the left hand side. What I would like to see is potentially Emile Smith Rowe being played as a number 10 and Odegaard playing beside Partey, maybe the role that Ceballos often plays in that kind of capacity. It'll be interesting for me to see what that would look like. But ultimately, you're right. When you either have to play one over the other, because when you've got Emile Smith Rowe played on the left hand side, there's very little that he can offer there that Pepe offers. So you're always being limited in one way or another. And it's a shame, because there are certain things that Odegaard has in his game that Emile Smith Rowe doesn't. For example, his passing ability, his vision, his technical ability on the ball. But equally, Emile Smith Rowe, on the other hand, is great on the move. He's great with his positioning. Yeah. He's great with his link-up play. He's great with, moving with the ball, taking players on. And I think I prefer that more, and I think that's more effective in the final third than that one-time passes or that, that little bit of Ozil-esque kind of vision. Because that's the way Arsenal are striving towards right now with Arteta. They're very pacey, they're very quick, and they're equally hungry to get the ball in the final third as quickly as possible.
James B, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I can add it. Yeah. As in terms
sorry, James. Sorry, James. Before you start, sorry for always me calling you James B. I'm just used to watching AFTV, and this James B guy is also on there. And remind me of him. So sorry, James Payne.
That's all right. That's all right. No worries. He's a good guy, James. He's a good guy. He follows me on Twitter. Yeah, as for Emil Smith Rowe and Odegaard, obviously you would like to play them together. You would, in an ideal world, you'd love to play them both. But I know Arteta speaks of when Odegaard first came to the club, Arteta was questioned on can you play them both together, and he said yes. But is that easier said than done? Because obviously they have their own qualities, as Farhan said. At the moment, I haven't really seen too much of them in terms of. I haven't really studied both their games to where I can like conclude who's better. But hopefully, I don't know what's happening in the summer in terms of Odegaard, whether we're going to keep him or we're going to pay them money to sign him up permanently. I'd love to sign him up permanently, but the money we're talking about is a bit too much, and I don't know if we'll have the money to spend. See, all these conversations about potential signings always end up back at the Kroenke's door, which is it's pretty, we'll have to see what happens. But as for Emil Smith Rowe, he's a great player. I think we nickname him the Croydon De Bruyne for a reason. And I think he really is gonna be the shining light in the years to come.
Definitely. Listen, guys, and then I have another question that I wanted to ask for this game especially. It's popping up on the screen. Who should start up front? Farhan, I'll start with you. Who should start up front? Oba or Martinelli? We know that Lacazette is still injured. We saw that Trentino and Lacazette back in training. They look sharp, but I don't think Arteta's going to risk either of them. I think he's going to stay with Xhaka at left back, which is a totally different proposition as to Kieran Tierney, because I don't think he's going to rush Tierney in 90 minutes. I don't think it would be good management from him. So Laka is definitely out. But up front, who do you think should start, Oba or Martinelli? Because both of them, they have different attributes. If Martinelli starts, Martinelli is not that clinical, but he does add hunger, he does add creativity, he does add that high press and creating chances. But Oba is class, as he showed against Newcastle again. You can't throw Oba away. So far, and who do you think should start up front?
I think the safest option would be to go for Aubameyang because he is a natural striker. That is his default position. When we're talking about someone like Martinelli, we're talking about a 19-year-old kid who has all the potential in the world to become world class. He's shown it time and time again. Every time that he's selected to play, he puts in his all. You can see the effort that he's putting in. But I stick to my stance on fully developing him as a left winger first before we start pushing him up front. Because he's as good as he is on the left at the minute, as well as he has performed, and as exciting as he is to watch, there are still aspects of his game that need to be improved. And being 19 years old, there's no surprise about that. You could say the same about someone like Bukayo Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. And I think, with someone like Saka, he's, I think, 10 steps. Okay, maybe it's 10 steps is a bit of a leap, but I think at least 5 steps ahead of Martinelli. So let's get Martinelli ready first on the left-hand side. And then we can start developing his game further to play up front so that we have that option there. But even with Aubameyang up front, I have issues with that because when I was watching him against Newcastle, yes, he got the goal, very good goal. But there were plenty of opportunities for him to score more and for him to do more. And I don't know whether it was because of the pace of the game. It was quite slow. It was almost always played at gear 3 for the most part, and so it was difficult for him to get the best out of him. But I want to see, if Aubameyang is playing up front, I want to see more from him, and the game, the effort, and the things that Lacazette brings to the game. That's what I need to see implemented in Aubameyang's game, because when you've got Lacazette and Aubameyang fit, there's only one guy that I want to see playing up front, and that's Lacazette, and that's purely based on his work rate and what he gives to the side. Whereas Aubameyang on the other side, he's always, seems to be loitering in the box a little bit, waiting for the ball to come to him rather than trying to create something for himself. And that's frustrating. You don't want to see that, especially when you're playing up against Villarreal in their semi-final second leg, where you need to get at least a bare minimum. I don't think a goal is going to be enough. I think we're going to need at least 2 or 3 goals. It seems like one of those games where Villarreal will inevitably score. And that would mean that we would need 3 goals to go through to the next round, but at least 2 to take it to extra time. So if that's the case, then we need Aubameyang to really be helping out the team as much as possible. Now, he's got those minutes under his belt against Newcastle, so there's no excuse to talk about, lacking in fitness or not being given enough game time, not having enough sharpness in his feet. He'll be given opportunities on Thursday, and he needs to take them.
Definitely. James Payne, any thoughts
Yeah.
on those 2 players?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I'd start Aubameyang purely because I think he needs to recover his form from previous years, because this season has been an absolute, well, in terms of his goal scoring, this season he hasn't been up to scratch. And that sounds so weird to think, considering he literally carried the team for, so many months last season. He was the main person to get us through the FA Cup run, and one of his goals, went a long way to winning us the trophy. And when he signed his contract, we were all really happy and said, "Oh, let's continue it, let's push on." But this season, he, for one reason or another, hasn't been up to scratch. So I would start Aubameyang, because obviously he got his goal against Fulham, and I want him to try and continue his resurgence in goal scoring. And there's always a chance when Aubameyang's on the pitch that he will score. But yeah, I echo what Farhan said about maybe giving a bit more. I want to see a little bit more, a little bit more desire from him to, get in those positions that Lacazette might get in, and really try and push on and win us, and hopefully win us the game, because he is our captain as well. So we need that captain's influence from him.
Definitely. Listen, Farhan, as we all saw against the game against Newcastle, David Luiz came on, and he really changed the game. My question is, does David Luiz deserve another contract at Arsenal Football Club, at least for 1 season?
Yes, I think he does deserve another contract. And I say that with reluctancy, and it irritates me that I'm having to admit, how much we need David Luiz at the squad right now, because it reflects on how bad the defensive situation is. And for a club to have spent so much money on Gabriel and Saliba to still not be ready to have sorted that defensive issue out, it's problematic that we need Luiz to stay for another year. But equally, having said that, you can't take away from the guy what he has achieved in the game and what he still continues to deliver. Because not only is he a half decent defender, but more importantly, it's what he gives to the team, which is something we've been missing for so many years at the back. In fact, ever since Koscielny has left, we haven't replaced that figurehead at the back. I made this point at a different stream that I did, I think, a couple of days ago, highlighting and emphasizing how important it is to have a leader at the back to hold that line, and for the other defenders to look to somebody to trust and to rely. When you've got Gabriel and Saliba, 2 young centre backs, who do you depend on? Who do you look towards to know that they will be responsible, or they will take the brunt of the blame if anything goes wrong? And David Luiz has that characteristic about him. He has the balls, and he has within him enough willpower and strength to overcome the criticism that comes his way. Because let's be honest, he's probably, after Willian, he's probably been the biggest target at Arsenal Football Club from fans, and yet he's still managed to focus on his game, give to the team what the team needs, and also he's put both of his arms around a large number of young players who have come forward and said that, this guy has helped with my development. He is such a crucial, key leader in the dressing room. We often talk about David Luiz and not David Luiz, Granit Xhaka as being almost the perfect captain for Arsenal, and Kieran Tierney. But David Luiz is someone else whose name should be put forward if we're talking about leaders and people who deserve the armband. This is someone who really does carry that back four, and without him, we have struggled immensely. And that injury for me highlights how privileged we are to have him at the club right now, and how privileged most clubs would be to have someone like him. Because like I said, it's not just the footballing abilities that you need at the back four. You need personality, you need perseverance, and more importantly, you need a leader, someone to rely on, someone to depend on, someone to look towards. And also you need footballing IQ. His intelligence is second to none. I was listening to the Arscast, it's another Arsenal podcast show, and one of the Andrew was making the point that, why is it that we rely on David Luiz so much? I mean, shouldn't the things that David Luiz does, for example, ping a 30-yard pass diagonally to Bellerin for the goal that we scored, shouldn't that be something which is a given? Shouldn't professional footballers just do that anyway? And then James made the point to say, well, it's difficult to say that because not many centre-backs do that. Not many centre-backs know when to release a ball, at what time, at what pace. Not many centre-backs will look up and notice a player making that run. It's about experience. It's about footballing intelligence. And centre-backs aren't built like that because they don't have, unless you've got that experience in your bag, you're not going to know to do that. And so that's another thing that he brings that most defenders in Europe aren't able to replicate, because like I said, they won't have that experience. They won't have the wealth of Premier League and Champions League experience that he's got.
Most definitely. James, your thoughts on David Luiz quickly?
I really enjoy seeing David Luiz, mostly because of just how nice a guy he is. Obviously, he's great on the football pitch, but he just seems like this guy that you can really depend on. And I agree with Farhan when he says he takes the young players under his wing and teaches them. And we made a point out on the Arsenal Therapy podcast that maybe Gabriel, who has been a great centre back for us this season as well, has said maybe he wants to he can't see himself playing with anyone else other than David Luiz, because that partnership has been quite good this season, and they seem to have hit the jackpot in terms of that partnership. So maybe it's like, Gabriel has seen David Luiz getting injured and is going to be like, I've got to play with Rob Holding now. And we will see how influential that partnership really is if he does play a part tomorrow, because that is rumored that David Luiz will play a part tomorrow if he can. He hasn't been totally ruled out, so if he's available, then that would be great for us. As you said, does he deserve another contract? I think so. Either as a player or as a coach, I'd take him in both ways, because I think the way he coaches the team and takes young players under his wing and really nurtures them into learning new skills. I can only take the skills part of it because Rob Holding started pinging those diagonal balls that Luiz is very famous for, and he might have been learning off him. And to learn off David Luiz, it would be a great thing, because he's obviously won so much stuff within the game of football, obviously with Chelsea and other clubs. It will be sad to see him go.
Yeah, guys, listen, David Luiz, for me, to tell the truth, if you look at David Luiz, he is Arsenal in a nutshell. He has his good games. When he's good, he's brilliant. And then there's days when he does these stupid mistakes that he just pulls someone's hair and it's a penalty. Some other days his reputation goes before him where he doesn't even make the mistake, but the referee still punish him just because he's David Luiz. And for me, that's Arsenal in a nutshell this season. 50-50. When you're good, you're good. When you're bad, you are just disgusting. But as you said, David Luiz, I really rate him highly. I feel more confident when David Luiz is at the back. And it's really strange for me to say that, but I do feel more calmer. I know that when there's balls coming through the air, David Luiz is going to be the one who's clearing those balls. David Luiz is going to be the one, like Farah told, pinning that diagonal passes. And I think, just be like you said, Gabriel, he wants to play with David Luiz because they're both Brazilian, and it just makes it easier in terms of the communication. And that brings me to my next point. Arteta he's always experimenting with these partnerships. It's either Pablo Mari and Holding or David Luiz and Gabriel. You understand? He never plays them both parts, and I know the reason for that is because Arteta likes a left-sided centre back to play on the left side. But with that being said, I just want to head into my potential starting 11, if that's fine with you guys, if there's no more points on David Luiz.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine.
cool, man. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let's go to the potential starting 11 for me. And you can differ in this and you can bring in your points that you think that shouldn't be so or be so. In goal, James Payne, I'm going to have Bert Leno.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would love nothing more than to see Matt Ryan get a start in the Europa League. But as you said, Bert Leno has been there since the start of the campaign, and I don't see him changing. I don't see Arteta changing it now. And I agree with Bert Leno, absolutely.
Okay, fine. That was easy. Thanks, James. I thought we were going to have a liquor discussion because of what Bert Leno last did and Arteta taking him out to the firing line because, yeah, I do have some German friends that also come on the show time and again, and we spoke about Bert Leno, and I asked them, isn't there even a chance for Bert Leno in your Euros team? And they told me, no ways. There's too much stupid mistakes in him. But we all know that Bert Leno, the day when he's brilliant, he can be a good keeper. So James Bay, thank you for agreeing with me on that one. That's browning
No
points. Farah, you we have on the right hand side, we're gonna have Victor Bellerin.
It's difficult. It's a very difficult one. I don't appreciate when fans bash Hector Bellerin in the way that they do because I don't think he deserves the criticism that he gets. I think he deserves criticism to some extent. I don't think he's good enough to play for Arsenal Football Club. I don't think we have a competent right back at the minute to play for Arsenal Football Club. But I think our best option, realistically, is Hector Bellerin, with all things being considered. Having said that, the guy on top form right now isn't Hector Bellerin, is Callum Chambers. So by playing Bellerin, we're putting a massive risk on someone who hasn't played much football, put in a decent performance against Newcastle. If he can replicate that, great. But is it worth taking another risk? Like Arteta did on Thursday last week? I don't know. I'm not the coach. I don't get paid the big bucks to make the decision. He does. So whoever he goes for between Bellerin and Chambers, one over the other, they need to play on top form. I wasn't that impressed with Chambers' performance on Thursday. I don't think anyone at the back four performed at an adequate level, considering it was a semi-final, a European semi-final. So whoever plays, they need to be up for the job. Now, if you're talking about experience, who can bode better in that type of environment? Probably going to go for Hector Bellerin. But like I said, I don't think they'll be up against anyone too difficult as well. I think it's the left-hand side where Chukwueze attacks. So being at the right, you'd want your right back to be able to do a defensively decent job, but also have in mind the offensive duties as well, because you're going to have a better opportunity to do that on the right-hand side than you will do on the left-hand side. So yeah, I don't mind having Bellerin or Chambers. Either one of them, but like I said, they need to be on top form and they need to deliver a very, very good performance.
Yes, I tend to agree with you on that one. On Bellerin, he did play on this weekend, which I think he had a really decent performance. But as you said, Callum Chambers will be doing him wrong into to giving Hector Bellerin that spot, but I do think that Hector Bellerin is going to get the nod from Arteta just because of his performance on the weekend. Mr. James Payne, heading into the central partnership, I'm going to give you the two. My central partnership is Murray and Holding. Who would you put there?
Yeah, if David Luiz isn't fit, which I think it will be a surprise if he does start. If he does start, then I'd start Gabriel and Luiz. But if David Luiz is injured, I'd start Mari and Holding, because obviously you can't have Gabriel because they're two left-sided centre backs, and that doesn't really bode well with our tactics. So if it was those two, they really, really need to put in a performance. If they needed any indication of how big the game is, you need to put in a performance, because I don't think anyone in that semi-final put in a good performance. I think it was very late. Some of the stuff we were doing were very, very, very lazy. So hopefully Arteta has, got into them what he wants them to do tomorrow on Thursday, and hopefully we can get the job done. But I would expect everyone, not just our centre backs, everyone on the pitch to put in a job. But especially our defence needs to be a brick wall, so to speak, because Villarreal do have it in them. Villarreal, as we saw in the first leg, can score goals, and they have players to do. They have players to do that, so it will be a task for them again to keep Villarreal out, and hopefully they can do that.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it's going to be one of those games where we see the best Arsenal coming to the fore. I think we're going to have high energy. I think mistakes are going to be limited. I think we're going to attack them really good. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to head later into our attackers. Mr. Farhan, on the left-hand side, this is dependent on what Arteta thinks. If he's going to take the gamble. But I don't think he's going to take the gamble, so I left him out. On the left-hand side, I think he's going to start again with Granit Xhaka instead of Kieran Tierney, just because he doesn't want to aggravate the injury of Kieran Tierney and wants to maybe perhaps keep Kieran Tierney fit for the weekend's clashes or for the final. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to have Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he will go for Granit Xhaka. That's the obvious choice, and it's frustrating for me to have to admit that and accept that, because I can't for the life of me understand. Yeah, I can't make sense of it. I mean, I get it. I do understand it, but I don't understand why you would do it in a semi-final when he's going to be up against Samuel Chukwueze. Why not play a defensively competent left back in Cedric?
Why not Cedric?
Why not Cedric, who can deal with someone like Chukwueze, or at least do a better job? With Xhaka, you've got two types of Xhaka. I mean, Xhaka's great at ball playing. He's great at picking up the ball and feeding it through the lines. But we don't need that when he's playing left back. We need someone to track runs, position himself well, play with the defensive line, and make sure that you're isolating Chukwueze out of the game. The first goal that was scored inside 5 minutes was an absolute joke. The space that he was given on the left-hand side, and then for him to just skip past so casually, both Xhaka and Ceballos said everything I needed to know. You don't play Xhaka, because they'll be licking their lips when they see Granit Xhaka playing left-back again. And you better believe that they will be attacking that side. But equally, I think we have to be honest with ourselves and say Granit Xhaka does have the potential to deal with these types of situations. He showed in the second half that he was, he's able to deal with someone like Chukwueze. He's able to put in a good defensive performance. But again, why take the risk in a semi-final, second leg, where you need to score goals, where you need to be sound at the back? Why take the risk? And what has Cedric done wrong? Because there was a point in time where he was our first choice right back, and then he's now our third choice right back, and now he's completely been isolated out of the squad. So I don't get it personally. I don't understand why. I think it was after that one mistake that he made where he gave the ball away and the opposition scored. I think it was a Europa League game. Must have been Benfica or Olympiacos, one of those games. But after that, he went missing. Now I get it, playing playing a right-footed at left back is risky, but it's only risky if you want someone to play with the ball and to run down the line. I don't want my left back to be doing that on Thursday. I want my left back to be sitting back, making himself comfortable and making sure that he's got both eyes on Chukwueze at all times, because you better believe that he is their biggest asset when going forward. Moreno doesn't perform well if Chukwueze doesn't perform well, because Moreno needs to rely on Chukwueze to feed the ball into him. And I don't think they've got enough quality on the right-hand side to do that. The left-hand side to do the same. So if you can take Chukwueze out of the game, it's almost like how Newcastle on Sunday looked like their only threat going forward was with St. Maximum. And Villarreal a little bit like that. And that's not to take away the quality that they've got elsewhere, but definitely offensively, they only look really dangerous when he's on the ball. And in the first half, he could have scored 2 or 3 because of him. So, yeah, I'm afraid to say it, but it will be Granit Xhaka who starts left back. I really hope it's not the case, but if it is, he has to, again, he's another one that needs to have the best game of his life.
Yeah, definitely. Heading into the midfield, I'm going to start off with Thomas Partey and Mohamed El-Neni. Just based on Mohamed El-Neni's performance over the weekend, I know we don't have a lot of options there, but I do think that Mohamed El-Neni really took the game to Newcastle. He really pulled some strings. His stats on the game were brilliant. So my partnership is going to be Thomas Partey and El-Neni. What is your part is going to be, James Payne?
I would agree with you, but I'm gonna say, yeah, I would agree. I would love to see Thomas Partey. I would love to see El-Neni play, but I think Dani Ceballos may take the place, purely because of, I don't know. I couldn't actually pinpoint a reason, but there's something within me that says Arteta's gonna go with Ceballos. I don't know what you think, Farhan, but
say that again. Sorry, you would appreciate who Ceballos? Did you say?
No. I would think that Arteta would go with Ceballos rather than El-Neni on Thursday.
I don't think he can, because Ceballos is going to be suspended. He's
he's suspended, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
I forgot about that. Okay, I forgot about
that. That's a blessing. That's a blessing in disguise. We should all be thanking the referee for sending him off.
I take that back. I forgot about that. You're completely correct. My bad. So I will start El-Neni. Yeah, I will start El-Neni. I'll take that back. I'll swerve around. I will start on any then. I didn't realize. I forgot. It's been such a long few weeks for Arsenal fans that everything is blurred into one. So I would start on any because he possesses the long range shot that we might need to get a goal in this semi-final second leg. And I saw a tweet on Twitter that I'd like to pull up again. Someone said, what players has Arteta improved, if any? Right? And that is one of the players that I would pinpoint. Mohamed El-Neni has improved immensely over the time Mikel Arteta has been in charge. Let's be honest, El-Neni couldn't hit a barn door when previous managers were here, and now it seems that El-Neni is scoring once every couple of weeks, which is great. And when he does score, they seem to be absolute bangers. And what I should say is Partey should start taking notes from Mohamed El-Neni when he decides to do those long range shots. But
Partey should take some tips from him. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I think we'll be playing Partey long shot bingo on Thursday, because I can guarantee you that it will happen again. Whether it will go in this time is a different story.
Yeah, great man. Listen, Farhan, Thomas Partey. There's been tweets saying that Thomas Partey has been an expensive flop for Arsenal this season. Would you agree with that? Why do you think the reason is for that tweet? Why do you think that Thomas Partey hasn't hit the form that he's hit at Atletico Madrid? I do know that it's a different league. adaptations need to take place. The intensity of the league is different. But why do you think Thomas Partey is struggling that much?
I think it's really unfair to say that, mate, to be honest. I think Thomas Partey has been one of our most influential midfielders. I think he's revolutionized the way that we play through the middle. If you think about before when we had Granit Xhaka and Torreira playing in the middle, there was very
Yeah,
little there was very little,
I,
ability to win the ball and pass it forward the way that Partey does. I feel a little bit sorry for him because he's almost left to do it all by himself. And that's why I think it's so important that we get an upgrade on Granit Xhaka because, we've seen the best of Xhaka this season because he's played alongside Partey, because Partey has given him he's given him that license to play his own role. But, to say that he's been a flop is really massively underappreciating what he's done to the midfield and what he brings to the team. I mean, I could tell you single-handedly exactly what he's done this season that we failed to do season in, season out. We have failed to replace Abu Diaby, your Alex Songs, your Gilberto Silvas, and up until they left, we failed to really put anyone in that position until Partey came. So, fair play to him for getting stuck in when he's been expected to. There are some issues, injury problems, as well as, often fading out of games. This is something I've seen quite recently. It's not something that's been as consistent as, other players have been underperforming, like Xhaka, for instance. But there is a problem there of maybe lapsing concentration or some decision-making problems. But I made the point a couple of weeks ago. The reason why Partey makes mistakes is because he is everywhere, and he is. There are certain players in midfield. There are certain different types of players. You have the safe player who likes to play the pass like Xhaka and Elneny, passing it sideways, passing it backwards, very static. Or there is Sorry, say that again?
Willian is also one of those who likes to play sideways and backwards and whatever.
Yeah, so
the way step forward.
Yeah, there are those types of players, and then there are other types of players, the risky type of players, the players who want to make a change and make a difference, that drive forward, that want to beat their men, that want to play that 30-yard pass, that want to play in between the line, and that's something that Partey has been doing that no one else has done at Arsenal for the last few seasons. So I understand why it's frustrating when sometimes he misplaces a pass or he loses the ball or he goes for one of his trademark 30-yard shots on goal. But I think you have to give credit to the guy that at least he makes those attempts, whereas others don't. And I think 7 times out of 10 he gets it right, and the 3 times out of 10 that he doesn't, it sticks to our mind because it's frustrating when it does happen.
Because he's such a great player, and we always expect the best from him. Now, thanks, Farhan, for that. That's a point made. Listen, it isn't me saying he's a flop. I'm just reiterating whatever the fans are saying about it, because I also felt that that's a bit harsh. Thomas Partey is the player that we never had. Look at this guy. Once he wins the ball back, his first mind is to drive at the defense or he drives towards them or he gives a killer pass. Like the other guys, when they win the ball back, they look sideways, they look backwards. Just like you said, 100%. I fully agree with that. They also had the same conversation about Nicolas Pepe being a flop. And talking about Pepe, Mr. James Payne, he's on my left-hand side, starting the attack on the left-hand side, not centre forward, no, left-hand side. What would you say? Who would you put there on the left-hand side?
I would. I think in the last few weeks, that has been where he's been most influential. That is where we've seen the best Nicolas Pepe that I think we've seen since he's been at Arsenal. When he's been on the left-hand side, just he, as you said, used the word drive. Used the word, he gets forward. He gets in those positions that you need to get into. And we've been waiting so long for Pepe to be a little bit more consistent. And I think on on the left-hand side, he does show a bit more of that consistency. And hopefully on Thursday, he is deployed there and he can help us again get to the final.
Farhan, I'm sure you would like to see Martinelli starting there, right?
I would. I actually would. You might be surprised to hear that. I think it's now.
No, I'm not.
Because I'm very protective of Martinelli, and understandably so, because he's such he's such a like a gem. You know, you don't find Martinelli. You don't find Martinelli's every now and again. So what's the point of ruining someone like that or risking someone like that, like we have with Eddie Nketiah, Joe Willock, and others, and Reece Nelson? I mean, look what's happened to them. They were supposed to be superstars. They were supposed to be the next generation of kids coming through the ranks. And what's happened is they've been forced into the first team. They've been forced to play minutes, and they've been expected to continue grinding out performances week in, week out, and they've hit a brick wall now, and it's dented their confidence massively. And it's not going to work out for them at Arsenal. Whereas someone like Martinelli, you need to be able to nurture and develop them at the right pace and at the right time. But I think now he's ready to be tested in these types of games. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is started against Villarreal, and if he does, or if he comes off the bench. I think it will do him the world of good. I think he is at the developmental stage right now where he needs to be in those environments, because once he starts getting, because we know he's used to playing against your Newcastles and your Sheffield United, he got a goal and assist in both games, but now he needs to get himself familiar with the bigger occasions. And once he's comfortable, once he's in his element playing against Villarreal's in semi-final European games, then you're going to start seeing the beast being unleashed. Then you're going to be able to talk about, you know, another generational talent like we do with Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden and Mason Greenwood. So yeah, I won't be surprised if he plays on the left-hand side, but equally, if he does play, he needs to perform, because that will be his ultimate test. So I don't know. Is it a case that we take that risk and we play Martinelli on the left-hand side, or play Nicola Pepe where we know he is going to be hungry up for it and he's on top form? You know, I always said you get the best out of Nicola Pepe when you play him on the left-hand side, because that's where he's more direct. That's where he doesn't slow down the game, and that's where he's able to take players on and, you know, make inverted runs into the box and shoot on target as well. So either one of them for me, I'll be happy to see on the left-hand side.
Cool. Then I'm going to go back to James. James, on the right-hand side, I've opted to go with Mr. Bukayo Saka. I don't think there's anyone else. I know we spoke for choices up front, but Bukayo Saka is the most natural player to go there. Would you put there?
I agree. I think Saka is one of those players that you have to start. I think he's the first name on the team sheet because of how influential he has been. You know, there's has been times in this season where he has been far and wide our best player at Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because you wouldn't expect such a young player to be a leader. Well, be a leader in that way, but Bukayo Saka has really shown maybe the more older guys how it's done and how you should play football. And I think he will be influential, and hopefully he has one of his best games in an Arsenal shirt on Thursday, because we really need it. And hopefully, you know, he can have a great game and maybe score a goal. I'd love him to get a goal in this semi-final, and hopefully can propel us to a final.
That would be really awesome. Farhan, I really had a good and hard think about this, about the what I'm going to put in the middle of the field. We spoke about Odegaard, we spoke about Iniesta and their talents and capabilities. For this specific game, I've opted to go with Martin Odegaard. Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, I was all for Martin Odegaard in the first leg, and that didn't go to plan. That didn't go the way I expected it to go. Because on paper, and when you think about the La Liga experience that he's got, you'd think that a team like Villarreal, he'll eat them alive, But I think partially it was down to the fact that it was his first game back from injury, so there was a bit of rustiness there. He played. I think he was more influential and he was far better against Newcastle. So maybe it's a case of just getting up to speed. But equally so, I still don't take away from what Emile Smith-Rowe brings to the table. And I think in a game where you need goals, in a game where you need to dominate the game and where you need to play it at such a high tempo, someone like Emile Smith-Rowe will be far more useful as a number 10 than Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard can control the game, can control the pace of the game, but I don't know whether he fares well playing in a fast-paced environment where your passes need to be very quick, your 1-2s your link-up play needs to be quick, your movement needs to be quick, and you need to be on the ball, for 90 minutes. And I get that from Emile Smith-Rowe. I just don't know whether Odegaard is ready to make that step up. But at least with Emile Smith-Rowe, we know that when he picks the ball up, there will be a quick change in direction and there will be a burst to go forward. And that's the only thing in his mind, to pick up the ball, to run forward and to take players on and to, play those 1-2s with Bukayo Saka and, when Lacazette is playing with Lacazette as well. So, like I said, either one of them is good because you got two top quality players there, but when you need loads of goals, I would prefer to see Emile Smith-Rowe.
Okay, fair enough. I totally take into account your points. That's why I just put it out there. Up front, Mr. James Payne. Just because of the recent goal that he scored, that was very unreal. I'm gonna put all up front, man. There's no debate there for me.
No debate there for me either. I think Aubameyang, I think he has to start this game because, if he doesn't, I don't, Nketiah does not fill me with confidence.
No.
I know we have Balogun as well, but I can't see Balogun getting a start in this big game because, he hasn't started up until now, so why would he suddenly go into a big game like this? So I would start Aubameyang purely because, contrary to his form this season, he is a goal scorer, and we've seen that he's the fastest player to 50 goals in Arsenal's history. So he is a goal scorer, and we've seen that, and I hope he can rediscover that on Friday, and hopefully. As captain, propel us to a final, and hopefully he can lift it as well at the end of it.
Yeah, James, just to add to that point that you made about the fastest 1 to 50 goals, and remember the players he's playing with. The previous guys had excellent guys going with them. Farhan, you can agree with me. We had excellent midfielders, we had excellent providers. Aubameyang came into a team where that class of provision wasn't there. He actually had to make a lot of these goals on his own. So I would really say that Aubameyang is the fastest to 50 goals in the current climate and team that he's in. Is really a great achievement, James. Really great achievement. Farhan,
yeah.
Laka Oba.
Well, I think I don't think there's a discussion to be had on that front because Lacazette's going to be out. It looks like it. They've had one training session, so look, they're not out of contention. They're not totally out of contention. Both Tierney and Lacazette. It's whether Arteta wants to take that risk. Now, if I'm Arteta, you best bet that I'm going to be taking as many risks as possible because this is the game that needs to be won. If there's ever a time in the season where you need to take risks, the right risks is this game. If we're going to be risking Tierney getting injured again, it's going to sound harsh, but so be it. I need to win this game. I can't afford to slip up. If you need to play Lacazette up front with only one training session, knowing what he's going to bring to the table, so be it. But it's difficult. Obviously, this is why Arteta is a manager and we're not. It's difficult to it's difficult to make that judgment and to make that type of call when such a big game is being played. With Aubameyang, you've got goals. He's played minutes. He scored a goal. It's good for his confidence. What will that mean for him going into the upcoming games? But with Lacazette, you've got high energy. You've got good work rate. You've got a team player. But he's coming back off an injury, one training session. So, with all things being considered, I think, the safest option would be to play Aubameyang. But again, it just goes back to the point that Aubameyang needs to have the game of his life. And if he doesn't, then the change needs to be made and then Lacazette needs to come on. And I think that's what will happen. I think Aubameyang will start and Lacazette will make the bench. And if need be, we'll have him on at the 75th minute or however many minutes Arteta wants to wait before he makes a change.
Yes, because we have seen that. I was just about to say we have seen that with the substitutions that they have been quite late. And if there was ever a time that you need to learn to make them early, it's now, because one slip up in terms of making a substitution, you only had to look at it. In the last leg, Danny Ceballos was going to be substituted 1 minute, and then he got sent off the next. So it's that decisiveness that you need to learn about in making substitutions that could win us the game. And hopefully Arteta gets it right, because if he doesn't, I can only imagine what the fallout's going to be.
Yeah, listen, man, I think that's a leaf from Wenger's book that he's taking from 75-minute substitutes. As we all know, Wenger wasn't always loved to making substitutes. We all knew Wenger substitutions, when it's going to come, how predictable it's going to be. Right? We just knew Wenger's going to make 75 minutes. If we are leading, he's going to solidify the game. If we are behind, he's going to try and put on some attackers. That's his mindset. That's what I really appreciated about Unai Emery. Listen, man, Unai Emery didn't care what the minute was. If he sees his system didn't work, he will take you off. He will take you off straight away. Right? That's what I respected from Unai Emery, even though people said he was mad. But I respected that. If Unai Emery saw things weren't going his way in the first half, he would make wholesale changes, and the second half would look a bit better. But guys, with that being said, thank you very much for your analysis. I just wanted to have your quick points on this last comment from the game of last night. James, I would like to start with you. What is your point and what is your take on last night's game and the statement from Pep and his men?
So I didn't watch the game, but I managed to catch the highlights afterwards. Absolutely, from start to finish, absolutely, commanding. I think that second goal, you have to just applaud it, because it was something that you don't see every day. The passes, I don't know if you saw it, Farhan, the goal with Mahrez. The passes, the way they were passing between them, and Phil Foden as well. He is just a joy to watch. Us England fans are going to have a great Euros if Phil Foden's form is anything to go by. And I'm just kind of happy for. I wouldn't say happy, but happy for Pep Guardiola from a neutral point of view and a football fan, that Pep Guardiola is back in the Champions League, because Pep Guardiola is a serial winner of trophies, and if he wants to progress and if he wants to stay at City, he better win that Champions League, because it is what the City fans have been hoping for.
Most definitely. Farhan, what would you say?
It's gonna sound very odd, but I really couldn't care less. And that's harsh. It's very harsh, but I think the reality of it is we saw two billionaire owners going at it against each other, and so whoever was gonna win, no one really would care much, because it's expected. Man City need to be in Champions League finals. PSG need to be in Champions League finals, and they need to be winning their respected leagues every single season. And if they're not, and again, this is a question for Chelsea fans, if you're spending £250 million a season and you're not winning a league title, what are you doing? Is it really worth having expectations? Or changing one manager to and I get it, Chelsea might be in the Champions League final after tonight. Good on them, but that's after having changed their managers. I just think, where is the joy in reaching a cup final when you know that
You've bought it?
You haven't really done much to achieve it. It's not much of an achievement if you haven't. I mean, they've worked hard for it. They have, and it's been coming for a very long time. We know that it was only a matter of time before Man City were in a cup final. And I saw a tweet last night, and somebody said, "I don't even consider Man City rivals anymore because that's how far the gap is." When we look at the top of the league table, when the Premier League season comes around next season, there's only one winner, and that's going to be Man City. There might be the odd chance that Liverpool might get back into it again. But no one looks at who's going to be winning the Premier League anymore. Everyone's more focused on what are the possibilities at top four. What's going to happen in the European competitions. And it takes the joy out of the game a little bit. And I think that's what puts me off watching games like PSG Man City. It's great for the neutral fans to be watching your Mahrez, your Sterlings, your Phil Fodens, your Neymars, Mbappes, etc. It's almost like a trial of what the Super League would look like. It's entertainment. It entertains the masses. Yeah, it entertains the masses, but other than that, the competitiveness of it is taken from you. So I had no other expectations other than for Man City to reach the Champions League finals. Look, congratulations to them and their fans. However many authentic fans there are left of them. But ultimately, if they win, say that again.
If they ever were authentic fans of Man City.
I think it's harsh to say that there aren't. Of course, there are authentic fans, and there are fans that have been there from the days of when they weren't, winning the league.
Also been bought.
Sorry,
I say some of the fans that have also been bought.
Yeah, it's a fact that when your club is owned by billionaires and you're attracting these big names and you're making so many big commercial deals, it's inevitable that your fan base is going to grow all around the world because of the fact that you are this wealthy business. The same goes with United. United are a global force because of what the Glazers did with them, and the achievements that they made, under the reign of Sir Alex Ferguson. So I'm not having a dig at clubs with money. I just think that it's good to have money. It's good to be. It's good for business, but if you're going to run the club the way that Chelsea and City run it, by spending hundreds of millions to only win one Champions League trophy in the last however many years that they've spent, then is it really to be something shouting about? And I mean, if it was a flip way round, I mean, I know that as an Arsenal fan, if Arsenal bought the Premier, if Arsenal were in it, and this is why I love Arsenal Football Club so much, it's because we earn the right to be called the Invincibles. We earn the right to be called a double winning team. We don't buy it. We don't go make any shortcuts for ourselves. This is something we worked hard for. And that's why we will continue singing the praises of the 2003-04 team that made that amazing, campaign. But when it's a Man City team that have spent so much money and that are winning league titles season in, season out, it takes away the joy of it all. It takes away that aspect of knowing you've achieved something, not just by cutting shortcuts, and getting help off FFP.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. Listen, guys, I echo your thoughts on the Pep and the statement that the guys made. It has been coming, as you said, it has been coming. Manchester City fans isn't interested in the league anymore. They are more interested in getting the Champions League now. So, with that being said, congratulations to them. I hope Charles can also progress, so we can have an all-English final.
Yeah, and hopefully we progress, and hopefully we have an all-English Europa League final.
Yeah,
which I think will be a more exciting game as well. I think you'd rather watch Arsenal versus United and City versus Chelsea, which is really, really strange to say, isn't it? Considering the two.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Has that ever been done before? Where we have an English Champions League and an English Europa League final?
I don't think so. I can't remember it.
No,
I think it's going to be history. I think it's going to be history if it should be like that.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, with that being said, thank you very much for your time. I know I took a lot more of your time than one was expected, but it was so nice. I think you guys are catching up again. Just speaking about football in general, it has really been nice. Thank you, Far. Farhan, again for showing up. Thank you for your persistence in helping the channel, and thank you for your comments on Facebook. For the appreciation post. It's been hard work. We dig in, we try, we don't sleep as much as other people sleep, just to do whatever we need to do. Mr. James Payne, thank you very much. It has been an honor and a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Once again, keep up the good work.
I will do so. Listen, man, on Thursday night, I will be presenting a watch along with some of the other Arsenal guys, with Roderick and those guys. I think it's important that we should watch this game together. What I've noticed with the watch alongs is it's a bit difficult to watch the game and do a watch along because people keep on commenting. Then you have to answer the comment, and then you can't get to watching the game. But yeah, these watch alongs, they really push up the watching hours, and they've been a real help in helping the channel grow and getting a lot of people. So you guys are more than welcome to join us on that night. I'm not forcing anyone into anything. I'll just send you the link. If you're available, you feel you have nothing to do, join us on the watch along on Thursday night. So we
Okay, then
can feel the pain together.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, no problem, man. Thanks, Farhan. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
No
Is there
worries,
anything
man.
else?
Take care.
Okay, thank you very much. This is #Calcio signing out from London, UK with Mr. James Payne AFC and GunnerSince 96. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.